Assalamu alaikum. And this is about Islam. And I am Naaila. I am a contributing counselor here. And today we're going to talk about domestic violence. And so I know that this is such a sensitive subject. Always be mindful that you can send your questions and the things that you may want to talk about. You may send your questions in the inbox because I know this is a sensitive area. I do have a few already that I'm going to be able to answer. The other thing is I want to let them know where you are. Please let us know where you are in the country. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. It is finally fall here. We have beautiful fall weather. I've been able to open up the windows and let everything be airy, and it's beautiful. It's actually beautiful. We were wondering if it was going to come. It was hot. It was hot for a while. Oh, it's Adam. Wa alaikum salam. It's Adam from Algeria. MashaAllah, glad to have you here. That's the beauty of what I love about Islam, is that there are people on this site that are from all over everywhere. And what it also tells you about Islam itself, the religion, is, when Allah says, I have made you of many tribes so that you may learn unity, is that, there are Muslims all over the world. And there are some common things that we agree about. All of us, there's some common things that we agree about. There's some things we disagree about. But there's some common core Islamic principles that we all agree about, inshallah. Okay, so we have someone from the UK, from Somalia. You're going to have to help me out. Ibadan? I don't know how to say it. Wa alaikum salam, Anne-Marie. Oh, you are so welcome, Adam. Domestic violence is such a sensitive topic. And it is one of those topics that is there, but shh, we're not going to talk about it. And so I have a couple of points that I want us to go over, because I want us to even be sure that we know what domestic violence is. Oh, we have New Jersey. I'll be in New Jersey the second weekend in November, inshallah. I've been there a couple of times. The love in New Jersey that I get is beautiful, alhamdulillah. So, but I want us to be sure that we know what it is. I need to turn up my volume, I'm sorry. That we know what it is, because we all have an idea of what domestic violence is, what it looks like, who it happens to, and it's not always true. We're actually quite limiting. It's so much broader than what it is that we think it is, because one of the first things two things that people automatically think of is not verbal, but violence. We think, okay, if it's physically violent, okay, all right, that's true. But there's also emotional and mental abuse. And when I'm going to break that down to verbal abuse, the things that someone says to you, the things that someone does to you, humiliating someone, yelling at someone, criticizing them, putting down your opinions. Oh, you got a new job? That doesn't mean anything. And, the belief is that domestic violence only happens to women, or mainly happens to women. And that isn't true. And what I have learned is that one of the key ways that men are abused is verbally. The things that women say to men. Oh, you're not a man. Oh, I don't need you. Oh, I don't know what you here for anyway. The things that women say to men, that's abusive. And I can't sit here and tell you that as a counselor that I have not worked with men who are not being physically abused, men with black eyes, because it has happened, and it does happen, and they're silent. They're silent because of the perception that we have about a man. Oh, he's weak. Oh, he can't fight. Oh, I wouldn't put up with that. It has nothing to do with his manhood at all. It usually, not always, very, very often is sometimes it's something as simple as, well, you know, I'm not going to hit a woman and I'm not going to separate myself from my children. It can be something just that simple. Okay, so the verbal abuse, someone said, you made me do this to you. It's your fault. It's your fault that these things are happen. Not allowing the children to see you. And I mean right in the house. Those children don't talk to your father because mom's not talking to him. Then we can't talk to dad, or vice versa. These are real things. That's abuse. And we believe that, oh, the second part is that domestic violence is only for intimate relationships. It's a husband and a wife, you know, it's a man and a woman who are somehow in an intimate relationship. No, domestic. The key word here is domestic. And this could be a mother and a daughter. It could be a father and a son. That is domestic violence also. It is not just for intimate love relationships. Families fight too. All right, another point I want to make is that very often when someone is a victim, we'll tell them, oh, you need to leave. Oh, you better get up out of there. You need to go now. I want us to be mindful that a victim has probably been entrapped in so many ways. Verbally, there's financial abuse where someone controls the money, where the car is being controlled, where they're monitored all the time. Where are you? Where are you going? Or they can't leave the house at all. So telling a victim, you need to leave, isn't that easy because they may need some help. And what I've witnessed is that many people will give this advice about what needs to be done, but they don't offer any support. If you're not going to offer any support, let me give you a cue. Shh, be quiet. This individual probably will need some help doing something. You know, there are those who leave slowly and they'll pack a bag, they'll pack a couple of clothes and they'll leave them at a friend's house or a relative's house. Are you willing to be that friend? Are you willing to be that relative? So that when they go, all they got to do is get themselves out of the house. And these are the very small things that someone can do to offer support. And people won't do that, but they'll just tell them, you need to go. Exactly, Dee Dee. It's not that easy to leave. And thank you, Ali. I appreciate you saying that the talk is great. It's not that easy to leave. And so if you're not going to help, you actually may do more harm than you do good. All right, last point I want us to be able to leave, well, actually two. I want us to leave here with. And the next one is that one of the most dangerous times for a victim is when they leave. And this is why it is so crucial to have support, to have a team of people around this person, particularly family, to help keep them safe so that their perpetrator will know, somebody's watching. Her father is paying attention. Oh, he's over at his mother's house. You know, I'm not going to be so easy to go over there. People need to have a team around them because one of the times, and when I say it's unsafe after they leave, most victims are killed after they leave. They actually are not most, because it happens. Sometimes they are not killed as often statistically while they are still with their perpetrator. The risk factor for death increases after the victim leaves. The perpetrator, they become more intense. They've lost control, and so they up the ante. This is a very, very dangerous time. So please, I warn you about just telling people, get out now. All right. So the last thing I want you to be able to leave with is, there's a new form of abuse out here. It's like, how do we get a new one? Because we got social media. It is very possible to be able to demean someone on social media. There is cyber bullying. There is a way where you can go and reveal someone's privacy, to put out their public information, their public personal information on social media. All of this is abuse. So now we have this new form of abuse. I've actually seen legal cases in regard to this. I'm reading the comments, subhanallah. I mean, I appreciate the du'as. Please keep them coming. And so we have to be mindful that because it's new, people overlook it. They don't even realize this is domestic violence. This is abuse. For someone to put your private and personal information on social media, to cuss you out, because y'all, let's not act like Muslims don't go there, okay? Because it happens, especially to people who are bickering and arguing. We start functioning at very low levels. To cussing someone out on social media, attacking someone in inboxes, this is abusive. And because it's a new one, people don't pay it as much attention. But it's just as wrong as someone walking up here to my front door and doing the exact same thing. Either way, your integrity and your safety are threatened. And these issues, they can go from being online to being in person. Okay, so I am done going off at the mouth at the things I want you to walk away with. So I'm going to go to the questions now. Always, again, remember, if you have a question, I have a great About Islam team working in the background trying to keep me together so they can make sure that I get your questions. All right. A sister is married and has 3 kids. She is being physically abused by her husband, and she has hinted at marital rape, but is too afraid to reveal details. She is scared that her parents will disown her if she reports her husband, as she is scared of the repercussions if he suspects she has told anything to anyone. What can we do to help her in this situation? She is threatening suicide. These are all normal things that can happen in a very unsafe crisis, domestic violence situation, because a person will feel like, hey, I'm at the end of my rope. I can't get out, and my only way out of this situation is death. And it will feel that way. This person will actually believe it. So the first thing is that coming up with a safety plan for her mental and emotional health. You can't leave if you commit suicide, okay? Suicide is not a way out. So that's the first thing. We need to address this threat of suicide, getting some help, even if it's her friends, because obviously someone knows something. And perhaps it could also be, this could be the victim who sent this question in and tried to present it anonymously because of the fear. So I'm fully aware of that. So if you can find a team of friends that you trust who are willing to be able to then assist you with your safety plan to leave slowly. But we got to get some help with the issue of suicide. If you can, get professional help in these situations. I don't know if you're going to be able to get professional help. You know, people ask, what do you do about, people who come to you in counseling? Because I counsel a lot of couples, and they're in domestic violence relationships, and it's active, because I won't work with anyone where they're actively fighting. Those people don't come to counseling. They don't want help. So I understand for this sister that it may be difficult. So what I would suggest that you do, if you do nothing else, use a 1-800 suicide hotline. You can call one time, you can call daily, and they will have someone there who will, at least, if nothing else, be able to listen to you, to keep you safe. Secondly, if you don't have friends or family to assist with this resource, to assist you with getting out, use community programs. There are lots of domestic violence organizations. And what I will do is, and I don't know where this person is. I don't know if they're in the US or they're internationally. But what I will do is I'll make sure that I get some resources and I'll send them to About Islam so that they can post them. Okay, because there are a couple of places where people can go. And there are places that do not advertise as the domestic violence organization, but I do know that they are supportive. Okay, you are going to need a team in regard to this situation if you want to leave. I want to address the other thing where it says she is afraid her parents will disown her if she reports her husband. And when it comes down to everything, that may be the one thing that will keep this woman from it. Your parents disowning you. Feeling like another person is not going to love you, is not going to approve of you, will not treat you as their daughter if you do not continue being a victim. I will say this. What's more important is that you leave. If you do nothing else, leave and go to safety. And after you leave, stay gone, not leave and go back. If reporting your husband gives you this type of fear, debilitating fear that you won't do it, I will say to you, it would be better for you not to report him to the authorities, but to surely report him in your community. The community needs to be protected from this type of behavior. All right, so I'm going to go to the next one. My father hits my mother. He never lays a finger on us, but is having an emotional effect on all of us. What can we do to help my mother in this situation? I've seen this also, and the trauma and the outcomes of children, even adult children, having to witness this between their parents is difficult. What do you say to your father? That's your dad. Dad, stop. That's hard to tell your father what to do. And he's big, he's probably bigger than you in most situations. He's a man, he's strong. Okay, so I get the reasons why someone doesn't respond to this situation. And then it says he never lays a finger on us. Well, if we intervene, he might start. I get it. So what can you do? I don't know if these are adult children. So I'm going to answer it in regard to adult children and for minors. If you are adult children, then I will say to you, and I'm going to challenge you, for what reason have you not taken your mother out of this situation? If your mother had a physical issue and she was in there and she had cancer and she was not being treated, and she had a brain tumor and she was not being treated, and she was suffering from malnutrition, and you've seen her body just shrivel and shrivel away and her skin start to color and lose her hair, you would go get her. And you will go and you would get her to safety because that's a physical issue. But when it comes to something that's mental and emotional, we don't run to go and treat it with that same tenacity. And it deserves that same type of attention. So I'm going to challenge the adult children. Go get your mother. Your mother should be able to stay with you. Is your father going to be upset? Yes. I really wanted you to think about, when does a perpetrator say, woo, I'm so glad my victim left. I can't abuse them anymore. I mean, really? That's not going to happen. No one is going to be excited that they've lost what they believe to be their power and how they affirm themselves, because the domestic violence is all about power, and that loss of that power can really ignite them. So the thought is, well, I want to keep him calm. Well, yeah, he's calm. He's beating your mother. And these are the things that for him this is also what's keeping her in this situation. Are you going to support that? You know, Allah tells us to forbid the good and enjoin the evil, and to speak out against oppression, even when it is against your own soul. Your parents are not an exception to that. All right, so I'm going to go to the next one. I'm a 32-year-old man living in Pakistan, where family honor is everything. However, I have a big problem that I can't discuss because of how I will be seen. My wife accuses me of having affairs. She verbally abuses me in front of the kids, and she severely beats the kids. What can I do in this situation, given my situation that if I talk to anyone, it's going to be seen as a big game? Wow. And see, once again, these are the things in regard to domestic violence, because we have to be mindful of the cultural things that are attached to it. You know, in some cultures, you don't get a divorce. It brings about family shame and dishonor. You don't leave your husband. You know, why would you put your children in a situation where they don't have their father? There are all of these things that people are up against. And so this one is a very big one, because one of the things that people don't like is that any time that you want a resolution, it means that we have to discuss the problem and we have to put it out in the open. We cannot resolve a problem that we don't talk about. I mean, it would be like me sitting here today and saying, all right, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. We're going to talk about domestic violence. And then I talk to you about how to make chocolate chip cookies. That doesn't make sense. But this is what happens. That we have an issue and we talk about everything but it, because of the fear and the shame and the judgment that surrounds it. And so I'm going to say to this man that to see if your wife will get professional counseling, she may not be willing to. 2, this is where you're going to have to trust yourself rather than trusting the community and the culture around you. Because there are children here who are being beaten, and that's a problem. The children need to be safe. Even if you decide that you are going to stay, the children are innocent and should not have to endure this. So if you cannot get your children to safety, yes, this would be based on what I'm reading, because this is all I have, is this little bit of information. But in this information, yes, I would suggest that this person leave this marriage for the safety of everyone involved. And where you say how it's going to be seen, you can't worry about how it's going to be seen if you want a solution. You can't get a solution and be quiet. That just doesn't make sense. You're going to have to step out and tell someone so that you can be sure that you and the children are secure. All right, I'm going to go to the last one. My husband never beats me, but he belittles me and puts me down all of the time. He is forever criticizing my effort in the house, my cooking, and even raising the kids. He has now started to take control of money and is only allowing me a very small amount of money each month. He says this has to last for the needs of me and the kids, and how can I deal with this situation? What I want to point out here is that we have almost all of the other components of abuse, but without having the physical part. He puts me down and he belittles me. Okay, that's verbal abuse. This is emotionally and mentally devastating. He criticizes your efforts in the house. You know, this is gaslighting, telling you, you know, you can't raise your children and there's something wrong. He has now started to take control of the money. Now, again, this is financial abuse. And then telling her, I'm going to give you only a small amount of money and it has to last you until the end of the month, which is an unrealistic goal. Now, she has to be responsible for enforcing this unrealistic goal. That's so unfair. All of this is forms of abuse. How can you deal with this situation? I would definitely recommend professional counseling, because as a counselor, I can say that I've seen these issues before. And when you have someone who's willing, and I'm going to say it, I'm not recommending anyone do this, but oftentimes, a party who's resistant to counseling and then decides to go, they go because they believe that if they don't, they're going to lose their family. There's usually a threat of divorce over their head. So I would definitely recommend professional counseling. I have seen spouses in these types of situations actually change their behavior. Inshallah, that is definitely possible. If he will not go, it is going to be about you making the decision about whether or not you are going to stay because you know who he is, or if you're going to leave. And you're going to have to make that decision and come up with your own evacuation plan so that you can leave safely. The next thing that I would suggest that you do is find a way to get your own money. You can't do anything without money. People say, oh, money is the root of all evil. You know what? I want you to try to move out without any money. You can't leave without money. If you don't have any money, you'll be spending someone else's money to get out. Even staying with someone else is using their financial resource. You're going to need your own money. And because there are also children that are involved, you have to think about, whether or not the children are going to have to change schools. I don't know if they're homeschooled. I don't know a whole lot about this situation. But when you're talking about relocating children, there are a lot of things to consider. So I would also suggest that you contact a domestic violence organization that will be able to guide you into the things that you need to consider if and when you decide to leave. There are so many things to think about that you can take care of before you go that people don't think about. All right, so I see that I have a question in my inbox that has come up. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna get that real quick. Get that quickly. Okay, I'm gonna all right. Okay, I say where Trudy say, Muslim community leaders tell women to have sabr, to have patience. You know what? I can tell you, I know a husband who has gotten a black eye multiple times from his wife, and he was given the same advice. And so it is my opinion at this point that it is not that they say to have patience because they want a woman to stay in a position to be vulnerable and to continue being abused. It is because I've seen them say this to men also. It is my opinion that they say this because they don't know what to tell you. You do have to be trained in order to be able to assist someone in these situations. There are so many things to consider that people don't think about. Just last night, I was reading a situation in regard to incest, which is a totally different topic. And people were saying, oh, I would have done this and I would have done that. And I would, don't do that because of a legal issue. No, if you do that, you will destroy evidence. These are things that people don't think about. And my knowledge, I still believe, is limited. And so there are things that people don't think about that can put the risk factors at risk in those situations. And people don't know. And this is why I say don't all going to your Muslim community leaders. That's not the place to go for an issue of domestic violence. When was the last time our Muslim community leaders actually led a forum on domestic violence? Think about that. And then we're going to go to them and ask, how do I get? It's like it's like asking them, what can I do about my toe? I have a fungus on my toe. I don't. Okay. But if you have a fungus on your toe or your toe is broken, do you go to your Muslim community leader and ask for advice? No, you don't, because they know, you know that they're not the toe people. Ask those who know. This is what Islam tells us to do also. Alhamdulillah, Trudy, if you got any benefit from today, I'm glad. It surely came from Allah. Assalamu alaikum. Walaikum salam from Kuwait, from Musima. Glad to have you. Okay, I see Sophia said, what advice do you have for me in marriage to a Muslim man in America? I don't know what your situation is. If I were going to give you some blanket marriage advice, if I were going to use it general, I would give you the advice of being consistent, being deliberate in regard to maintaining your marriage. For example, if you have high blood pressure, you have to consistently watch what you eat. You may have to consistently take your medicine. You have to consistently take your medicine at a certain time. Well, your marriage needs consistency. And people, what they do is they'll get tired. Oh, it's just my wife. Oh, it's just my husband. And they stop doing the things that keep a marriage vibrant and in love, and even Islamic. They even stop doing the Islamic things that we know, is particularly from the Sunnah, that will help. You know, they stop having fun together. You know, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, he played games with his wife. You know, we know that they would have time together in the evening for conversation, for having meals together. And people stop doing these things. And that's when you start to have consistent problems. So I will tell you, one of the first things that I would say to you is to be consistent. The second thing that I would say to those who are married is to be mindful that it's not about you. It is about making the marriage the priority, inshallah. Okay? Wa alaikum salam. Hello, Ibrahim from Nigeria. Pleased to meet you. All right, so I have this question. How do you get away when there is no support? It's hard to leave. I remember leaving, and my infant and I were homeless, to end up being back with the abuser. Okay, I want to point out that this question shows one of the very things that happens when people leave without due diligence. Because people will say to you, get out now. And if you don't get out without a plan, you're going to be right back in the situation. If you get out and you don't know how you're going to get the children to their new school, you end up going right back to the perpetrator, because the children have to go to school, and that's where the transportation is. If you leave and you know you don't have any money, you're going to end up going right back, because this is where you have food and you have clothes and shelter, particularly if you have children. And this is why I say contact the domestic violence organization, who can tell you the things that you need to consider, so that when you leave, that you can leave permanently. That's the first thing. Do not leave without a plan. Because this person says, I left and me and my child were homeless. I will tell you, here in America, homeless shelters are full of domestic violence victims. Because you may be homeless and you have to go to a shelter because you don't have anywhere else to go. And I'm going to tell you something, folks. it's okay. It is somewhere to stay, and there are people there on staff who can assist you with your long-term plan. And so, and I know that this person who asked this question, I know that they are in America. And so where they say there is no support, there are organizations, and there may not be any support where you are locally. For example, depending on where you are, especially if you live in a rural area, there may not be any shelters to go to. There may not be a local organization to go to. And this is when you begin to use your national resources. The other thing is that something I have also seen is that there are communities that do not have a formal organization, but they have come up with their own informal solutions where they literally have an underground railroad of people that you can go to who will assist you and allow you to stay in their home. And let's say you would stay with this at this home, this safe house, for a couple of days, and then you would move and you would go to another safe house. I know that there are communities who have this, and there is no way that you're going to find out about it unless you reach out. You have to make the calls, not a call, the calls, and keep calling. Keep calling. You don't have to call a place locally. You'd be surprised at what someone in Tennessee knows about domestic violence programs in New York. What? Because victims, they go all over the country trying to get to safety. And so resources will travel. Keep calling. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Ibrahim. Alhamdulillah. Oh, so Bia, you were so welcome. I love you for the sake of Allah. And again, if you have gotten any good from this, it comes from Allah. Okay, someone says about how to prepare a body for a janazah. That is not my area of expertise and not what we're doing here today. So I will not be commenting on that. But I will say if you go to the About Islam site, you may be able to get that information. But that is not my area of expertise, and I stay in my lane. Okay, I appreciate all of you. I'm going to check one more time to be sure. I don't have any more questions. Okay. All right, we are good. You are so welcome. Thank you. Okay, that was great. Someone just said they gave the email address where you're able to ask that question. Mr. Brother Bello, okay, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. I will be back in 2 weeks. I don't know what my topic's going to be. About Islam will let me know. Also, I bet if you go to that email address and let them know what topics that you would like, they would do that for you. As for me, you can find me on Facebook as Hassan-Naaila Clay. And you can also find me at www.thatclaycouple.com. I do counseling with my George, with my husband. And so I'm going to put so I see About Islam. Y'all beat me to it. Y'all are so official. They don't want it. Thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah keep you safe. May He send the angels for your comfort. And may He grant you Jannah from any gate you choose. Ameen.